my name is Bailey, and I'll be presenting the topic, Can Ethics Be Taught? Today, ethics is a required course in most universities. Many large corporations also require their employees to take ethics courses, and many professional licenses require a periodic ethics class to keep their license current. So why the big push for ethics? Is one's conscience no longer good enough to make wise decisions? Ethics education is not just teaching another about what ethics is, but actually inspiring them to act on the moral duty and obligation that goes with it. There are so many critics who say that ethics is too subjective or that it is innate. But there are also many who believe that ethics can be taught if broken down into specific components. So the question is, can ethics be taught? And if so, how? This question is as old as time. Even the great minds of the past, such as Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle, have pondered this question. These three masterminds did agree on one thing, that ethics could be taught. Through his ponders, Plato came to the conclusion that if virtue is a kind of knowledge, then it can be taught, because knowledge is a sort of thing that can be imparted to others. In the business world, ethics are as vital as a degree. In the accounting field specifically, big changes have been taking place to pushing the issue of ethics to a higher level. There seems to be a double standard given by those who criticize ethics courses. Dr. Bean wrote an article in the CPA Journal that used Enron and WorldCom as an example. He said, "Those opposed to adding a required ethics course in accounting have stated that there is no proof that such a course would result in a moral ethical behavior. Consider the outcomes assessment of courses after Enron and WorldCom. Besides being ethical failures, these scandals also represent failures of the accounting curriculum. If one uses the proposed measurement standards suggested for ethics, the failed audits of Enron and WorldCom not only challenge the effectiveness of auditing courses, they also reflect poorly on what is being taught in intermediate accounting courses. The WorldCom fraud goes to the heart of the introductory financial accounting course. Had its auditors heeded the definition of assets as being items of future value and expenses as being items having no future value, the WorldCom audit would not have failed. Although this analogy sounds a bit comical, it has a lot of truth behind it. Unbelievable Statistics by Trevino and Nielsen in their book Managing Business Ethics states that business school students may need ethics training more than most because research shows that they ranked lower in moral reasoning than other students. This is astonishing considering the fact that accountants are supposed to be truthful gatekeepers to an organization's financial position. It leads one to think that stronger standards and rules should be in place. But do rules work? In the book Understanding Accounting Ethics by Sheffers and Paculett, they state, "It would not be possible for someone to act with intelligence and integrity by simply trying to follow rules, no matter how well crafted or carefully qualified those rules may be. Someone who is attempting to follow rules must, at nearly every point, rely on good judgment, draw upon deeper principles, and view his action in relation to various idealizations." You can't teach an old dog new tricks. That's the attitude that many critics have had for ethics education. They believe that one's upbringing determines their character and that by the time one reaches college age, their character is fixed. In an article in Inc. magazine written by David Schmidt, he said, "Some say that ethics can't be taught, at least not past early childhood. This view that ethics cannot be taught is refuted by development psychology, which shows that people do acquire more sophisticated forms of ethical reasoning as they mature. Like Sheffers and Paculett pointed out in their book, no one could learn to be a good athlete, a good musician, or a good actor merely by sitting in a classroom. As a subject matter is learned, one must put it to practice. And the same applies for ethics education. One must learn about ethics and then apply it in their everyday life." The defining issues test was developed by James R. Rust, became a widely used measurement for moral reasoning development. Rust argued that individuals have different levels of sensitivity to ethical situations. Using this test, Dr. Mary Beth Armstrong did a study that concluded that one's ethical sensitivity is increased through accounting ethics courses. So the question is asked, where and how should ethics be taught? Though a recent study found that 7 out of 10 students admitted to cheating on an exam, Dr. Johnson states that cheating is not the problem. He stresses that there is a bigger issue underlying the problem linked to the cheating epidemic in America, and that is the lack of teaching children to develop good character. Parents need to take a higher responsibility in teaching their children values in the home. In the Parenting Journal, author Tiffany Chappell is quoted as saying, "The day a person becomes a parent, they are given the honor and responsibility of being the primary and most influential educators in their child's life." The second place that one can learn ethics is at church. Since ethical values are taught in most religious sects, having a religious background can help a person make ethical decisions. Dr. James Donahue, a professor at Berkeley, asked the question, does ethics require religion? While his discussion leads to the answer that no, ethics does not require religion, he does admit that when religion and ethics find room for robust discussion and agreement, we maximize the prospects for constructive choices in our society. The third place is at school. Religion and morals are not being taught in the school system. However, there is an increase of ethics courses being taught in universities. Sheffers and Pakulik point out that ethics education can be best achieved by breaking ethics into 4 separate components: understanding, idealism, character, and culture. By teaching each of these 4 parts separately, one is able to break down ethics into a proportionate scale so that even young learners can understand. They do warn, however, that classroom instruction is just part of ethics education. The other part comes through experience. The third place is work. Trevino and Nilsson said, whether or not we prefer to admit it, our ethical conduct is influenced by our environment. In work settings, leaders, managers, and in the entire cultural context are an important source of this influential guidance. If we focus on conduct, ethics becomes an extension of good management. Leaders identify appropriate and inappropriate conduct, and they communicate their expectations to employees through ethics codes, training programs, and other communication channels. As in any other course, there is no guarantee that teachings will be adhered to 100% of the time. Dr. Bean said, an accounting degree does not guarantee accurate or proper accounting. Individuals would probably concur, however, that the probability of correct and ethical choices increases with increased education in these particular subject areas. An accounting ethics course should lessen the frequency and severity of ethical lapses in profession. While ethical dilemmas are inevitable in one's career, ethical pitfalls are not. One must continually practice making ethical decisions and pondering why it is so important. Ethics is very simple, yet very complex. It requires a lifetime of learning, an open mind to understand its ramifications, and a determined mentality to stand up for your values when tested. Thank you.